WebEx calling has a lot of features. It's a complete and comprehensive enterprise-grade calling solution. I think there's no need for us to hide us or hide the features and functionality of WebEx calling when comparing it to both on-premise solution from Cisco Communications Manager and also competitive solutions. So a lot of stuff is in there, and I will not go through all of them in detail. This is more meant to be as a reference slide, eye chart, showing, naming a few things that WebEx calling can deliver. All right, with that, let's take a look at PSTN options. I mentioned already that we have 3 major PSTN flavors. We have on-premises PSTN, we have Cisco calling plans, and we have Cloud Connect for WebEx calling from left to right. On-premises PSTN is a solution where you continue to use your existing on-premises PSTN connectivity, whether it's a SIP trunk, an ISDN, or whatever, an analog port even, it doesn't matter. As long as you can hide it behind a SIP trunk, it will work with WebEx calling. The way we make that work is we put something on your premises that's called a local gateway. Local gateway is basically a function that you configure on an SBC, can be Cube or a third-party SBC, and that interconnects the cloud with your on-premises solution, okay? And then from the perspective of this local gateway, anything that looks and smells like SIP can work as PSTN for WebEx calling. The next option, Cisco calling plans. The unique value add of Cisco calling plans is that in this case, the administration of numbers, of phone numbers, is fully integrated. You basically order your numbers in Control Hub, and also there will be a single bill, right? The billing of both the calling service, WebEx calling, and also your phone bill will, in both cases, through Cisco. If you use your on-premises PSTN, you will still have a contract with your existing PSTN provider, of course. And also, if you go to Cloud Connect for WebEx calling, here, where we basically have pre-provisioned connectivity to PSTN partners around the world, you would order your phone numbers from one of these cloud-connected PSTN partners, and you would be billed by them for your call volume, right? So differentiation from left to right again. Premises PSTN is the solution where you continue to use your on-premises PSTN. The other 2 options are cloud PSTN options, which require no on-premises equipment. And the difference between Cisco calling plans and Cloud Connect for WebEx calling is that Cisco calling plan is a combined Cisco offering single bill, whereas with Cloud Connect for WebEx calling, you continue to have a contract with a PSTN provider. All right. So for on-premises PSTN, this local gateway that I mentioned can not only be used to interconnect with PSTN, but it can also be used to interconnect with an existing on-premises PSTN, like communications, PBX, like Communications Manager. We use 3 concepts there. First, a trunk, a single trunk from WebEx down to this local gateway. Then you can combine multiple trunks into what we call route groups, up to 10. You do this usually to scale and for redundancy purposes. So if one trunk fails, the other would still work. And then we have dial plans, enterprise dial plans to be more precise. And that's why this is bold and underlined. These dial plans are only meant to be used for on-premises destinations. So if you're only connecting to the PSTN, you would never have to configure any dial plan in WebEx calling. All right? So if you're only connecting to the PSTN, no dial plan configuration whatsoever. Only if you have on-premises destination behind a communications manager or some other on-premises call control, then you want to use enterprise dial plans to define which destinations live behind that call control. And we'll give an example later on. At a high level, comparing these local gateways, we have 2 flavors. You can have what we call registering and certificate-based trunks. The main difference is that for third-party local gateway vendors, for third-party SBC vendors, we only support certificate-based trunks, whereas with Cube, the Cisco SBC, we support registering and certificate-based trunks, and there's significant difference in performance, as you can see. With registering trunks, you're limited to typically below 250 concurrent calls, whereas with certificate-based trunks, you can go up to 2,000 if you stay OTT, if you stay connected via the internet. If you go with a direct interconnect like WebEx Edge Connect, you can scale this up to 6,500 concurrent calls. The limit here is not necessarily a platform limit. It's more based on the fact that for signaling, we use SIP TLS as transport, so a TLS connection, which effectively is TCP transport with a security layer. And we all know that TCP can be severely impacted. The performance of TCP can be severely impacted by round trip and packet loss. And if that happens, then this negative effect will basically lead to challenges with getting the signaling across in due time, and then things become unstable. That's why we're limiting this to 250. Why are certificate-based local gateways more scalable? The main reason being is that if you go to the certificate-based model, the SBC, or in that case, will maintain multiple active TLS connections, whereas a registering local gateway will only maintain one connection. And if you do the math, divide 2,000 by 250, you figure out how many concurrent TLS connections there are for certificate-based trunks, correct? It's 4 upstream and 4 downstream. So we have 8 concurrent signaling connections with certificate-based trunks. All right, PSTN. The cloud-connected PSTN providers and also the Cisco calling plans are connected through a peering network in our data centers, where we basically interconnect with these providers. And then if you use one of those cloud-connected PSTN providers, there's no gateway, no PSTN connection on your premises, right? There's nothing here. The numbers are ordered out of band from your cloud-connected PSTN provider. The partner helps to procure those numbers. You add them to Control Hub, and then things start to work. When you compare these options, the biggest benefit of Cloud PSTN, both Cisco calling plans and Cloud Connect for WebEx calling, is that there's no invest in any on-premises equipment, right? Whether it's CapEx or OpEx, because literally there is nothing. You don't have to buy gateways. You don't have to operate and maintain gateways. That's best. The on-premises solution, the benefit there is you can reuse existing PSTN connections. Sometimes this is 100% required because there might be existing contractual bindings to a provider which you cannot get out of. So you have to stay with them for a continued period of time. Sometimes it's architectural considerations that keep you on premises because you have to maintain certain users on premises, and then you don't want to move the PSTN, right? And one of the most important use cases for trunk and local gateway is the interconnect with an on-premises call control to maintain connectivity while you're moving. So the question is, if you choose to use a certain PSTN type for a location in WebEx calling at the beginning of the transition, can you change this PSTN type? Can you start with using on-premises PSTN and then later on move to cloud-connected PSTN? Yes, there are certain steps from two combinations that work well, and there are certain migration steps that aren't really supported, or I would always say they to be avoided. And this matrix tries to summarize that. So what you see in this matrix is, on the left, we have different PSTN options that you could use in WebEx calling, and there's different options you could migrate to. First off, on the previous slide, I claimed there's 3 PSTN options. Why do we have 5 columns here and 5 rows? Because there is a specific flavor that only exists in the US, and since it exists and there's a potential that we have some multinationals in the room, I have to discuss this. In the US, we have a Cloud Connect PSTN provider, IntelliPeer, who offers two types of PSTN connectivity, an integrated flavor and a non-integrated flavor. Integrated means that you can order numbers from IntelliPeer from within Control Hub, and the non-integrated is basically just a regular cloud-connected PSTN provider, and that's why I have to differentiate that here. All right, so the first flavor that you see here are these guys marked in red, manual migrations. This happens if you want to switch from a Cisco calling plan to anything else, or from on-premises PSTN to integrated cloud-connected PSTN provider. To make it short, you don't want to do this, okay? So the short story is just don't do it. The longer story is, if you ever want to do this migration between these two flavors of PSTN, what this means for you is you have to create a new location with a new PSTN type, then move your TNs and users over manually or automated using batch operations or APIs. But basically, you have to reconfigure everything. It effectively means start again from scratch. So please avoid that. Luckily, it only applies for migrations from Cisco calling plans or from to integrated CCPP. Integrated CCPP doesn't exist in Europe, right? So not a factor for us. It's not that bad as it looks. The next one, self-service. Basically, everything that's green is self-service, which means can easily be done. So, for example, any move between cloud-connected PSTN provider and on-premises PSTN, you literally only in Control Hub have to select the location, navigate to the PSTN connection type, and switch it. We will pop a warning basically telling you or asking you, are you sure that you know what you're doing? Okay. And then we switch the PSTN type. Why is it this easy? Because the responsibility for the porting of phone numbers in this case is 100% on you. All right. If you move from your on-premises PSTN to a cloud-connected PSTN provider, you have to arrange the porting of these numbers to that provider. And then in line with the execution of the port order, you just switch the PSTN type. Done. Nothing changes in Control Hub. Nothing needs to be reconfigured. Easy. And this goes both ways. Okay, that's the easiest one. The migration to Cisco calling plans is something that you initiate from within Control Hub, and then we take over the port orders and all these things. So we initiate the port order from the existing provider over to Cisco calling plans. In Control Hub, during this period, we basically lock any operation regarding phone numbers. So during this execution and before the execution of the port order, you cannot add or remove or move numbers, right? Because we have to have a fixed state. And then at the date the port order gets executed, then we actually apply the actual PSTN change. I think we all agree that changing the PSTN type has to be in line with execution of the port order, right? Because that's the date when the inbound routing of the PSTN of the public network to you changes, right? Okay. And this is the way simplified diagram that applies to us if we ignore the US, right? So if I take out these two IntelliPeer PSTN types that only exist in the US, we are back to Cisco calling plans, cloud-connected PSTN provider on premises. And as you can see, everything's green there. You can basically migrate back and forth between everything, with the exception from Cisco calling plans back to cloud-connected PSTN provider. That's the manual migration scenario. This doesn't look that bad anymore, right? And it's way easier to understand and grasp. Cool. So when would you move, typically during a migration scenario, when would we move our PSTN? Would we do this at the end, after we moved all our users to WebEx calling, then touch the PSTN, move it over? Or would we do this during the transition, like group by group? Whenever we touch a location, we move these guys over. Both are actual solutions that you see in reality, right? There's some pros and cons with it. Moving to cloud at the end obviously means that you minimize the interactions with your PSTN provider, which can be a good thing, right? Sometimes executing port orders can be a painful experience, can take a lot of time. So with this approach, we would only move the numbers at the very end. And then switching from on-premises to cloud-connected PSTN, as we've seen on the previous slide, is easy, right? It doesn't break anything. You just switch the PSTN type. And then during the transition, all the PSTN traffic of your WebEx calling users would still go via local gateway to the on-premises PBX and then out to the PSTN. So that's one of the disadvantages here. You have to properly scale your local gateway connectivity to be able to carry that traffic, right? And it has to also meet your redundancy requirements. My hybrid, sure, you have to execute way more port orders, which might be a challenge. The benefit here is that you minimize the amount of transit traffic on your local gateway, right? Because you start to move PSTN over as the users move, and the only traffic that you would then see on your local gateway trunk would be the on-net traffic between WebEx calling users and UCM users, which is way less, okay? The third option is move to cloud PSTN right away, like at the very beginning. Move your PSTN to the cloud, and then during the transition, your users on Communications Manager start to use PSTN in the cloud. As indicated in this illustration here, you get rid of your on-premises PSTN connectivity, and then these users registered to Communications Manager will start to use the PSTN the cloud-connected PSTN through WebEx calling and the local gateway. There's one caveat. This is a connectivity method that doesn't work right away. It requires an extra license. It's a solution that we just recently added to the functionality of WebEx calling. It's called a PSTN trunk for hybrid WebEx calling deployments. And then for every call, every PSTN call that you put on this trunk, you need a license, basically, based on concurrent calls on these trunks. Reason being that any competitor in the market, all of them charge licenses for PSTN access, and we cannot encourage customers to use PSTN trunking through WebEx calling without any limits, because it basically creates a cost on our side, trunking these calls, and we need to charge you back based on this concurrent usage. With this, the way this works is we allow access between what's called a route list, right here, trunk via route list. So we allow calls from route list controlled trunks to the PSTN and from the PSTN to users. That's what we do, and that basically then allows these direct connectivity from both phones on premises and applications via local gateway up to cloud-connected PSTN providers. This is only available for PSTN through cloud-connected PSTN providers, not for Cisco calling plans. Note that there's no Cisco calling plan cloud here, right? You buy these licenses for the concurrent calls. As I mentioned, we allow a 20% overage. So if you buy 100 license, you can put 120 calls on it. There will be announcements and warnings and alerts when you basically get into this overage model. This is also tracked in CDRs, so we give you all the tools to monitor your license usage there. To set it up, what you do, you basically have phone numbers in a WebEx calling location, and these phone numbers are not assigned to WebEx calling users. Instead, you assign them to a route list. And the route list is the entity that basically defines, oh, all users with these phone numbers are entitled to place calls between the PSTN and an on-premises trunk. That's the way it works, right? And this route list is tied to an on-premises trunk by defining a destination on the route list that points to these trunks. The call flows can be summarized like this. For an outbound call flow from a UCM user here on the left-hand side, the user dials a PSTN destination, then the UCM dial plan magic kicks in. UCM realizes this is a PSTN call, sends it to WebEx calling over the local gateway. Then inbound in WebEx calling matches the caller ID of this call against route list entries, hopefully finds a match, and if a match is found, then this inbound call is classified as a user call, and that's why we allow the connection outbound to the PSTN. The same happens in the other direction. When we receive a call from the PSTN and the called address is a match in a route list, then we know that this call has to be sent to the on-premises call control to UCM. And then as soon as the call hits UCM, again, the usual UCM dial plan magic kicks in, and the call gets extended to the phone/device registered to UCM.